Hello, PSJ family. Welcome to the second episode of the J's Up podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Nicanor.
And this is your co-host, Jaime Leal.
And today's topics and stuff are going to be really going into depth in how our students are feeling, whether it be from tragic situations or whether it be how we expect our education to continue. But before we get into that, this last weekend was Father's Day weekend.
Yeah.
Thank you to all the fathers out there. Bless you guys. I love
Shout
you,
out to
Dad.
all the dads. Yeah.
And what were you up to this weekend? What are some interesting things that happened?
Well, actually, today on Father's Day, the day before, we actually went fishing and stuff. Woke up super early to go fishing, like 5 in the morning. I wasn't too happy about it, but anything from my dad. So we went fishing. We ultimately caught very little. We caught one catfish. I caught one catfish. My stepdad caught a bunch of perch, which, if you know, it's more of a bait fish. It's not really anything that you want to eat. And it was tragic because my stepdad killed the perch, and I felt terrible. And it sucked because I for real stopped fishing after the perch died because, I mean, I saw it on the dock and it was flapping and it was terrible. I wanted to throw it back in the water so bad.
I'll tell you something right now that keeps me at like ease when I fish, because I love fishing. Fishing is so fun.
Yeah.
Here's a fun fact. Fish don't feel pain. They don't. Their brains don't have like receptors for pain the way like us mammals do, the way we can express and feel pain just because our brains are wired that way. That's why like dogs whimper, we cry, we yell,
Yeah.
So, I mean, just something to consider in the future. I'm not saying going out and, killing a bunch of fish. I'm just saying like
they don't feel nothing, man. That's really cool. Now I know I'm gonna start fishing again, but yeah.
Fishing's so fun. Oh, you did? Well, it's really just like a pastime and like a calming experience.
Yeah, for sure,
But
man. We were fishing on the jetties, which sucks if you have your phone, because when you're on the jetties, it's rocks everywhere, and the water just comes up and it hits you real bad, man. And it was hard because all the wires when fishing, all the lines, they get tangled, bro. And it sucks. Let me tell you, I spent more time fixing up the fishing pole than I did actually fishing. I'm an expert at rigging up the fishing pole now, though. It's crazy.
I wouldn't be able to. I think that's the most annoying thing about fishing is like figuring out, that. But no, this Father's Day was pretty tame, with everything going on. We didn't want to like have a party or anything, right? My dad is really into golf, and he's really good at it too. I don't want to say anything, but he's pretty good at golfing. And so we went to Dick's Sporting Goods and got him new clubs, a new bag, and like a little like a putt kind of a place where you can work on your putts.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And it just grows like that kind of like muscle memory of like how far you should be, how like great you should do it, how strong you should putt it. And he really liked it. We went out to have lunch, and
where'd you go eat?
We went to Olive Garden.
Nice.
And it was actually really good. Like I'm not a big fan of like eating in a restaurant, just because I always feel like I get full there for some reason. But then when I eat like at home, I'm never as full. It's weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it. But it was good. And after that, we went to my uncle's house, and we just hung out with my uncle and my other uncles, and just spent Father's Day together. And
that's really cool. I don't want to like say anything, but I heard your dad's like the Tiger Woods of golf.
Well, we can say that. I mean, if you want to say it, I'm not going to say it, but if
You're
you
not
want
gonna
to
say
say it,
it?
we can go ahead and I'm not going to say it.
Another question, another hot question for you. What did you get from Olive Garden? Floor is yours.
Okay. This is a good question, and this, I mean, kind of warrants how you guys will feel about me and some opinions you guys may have. But
Do not say a burger, bro.
I didn't get a burger. Why did I get a burger? I didn't even know they had burgers.
I don't know if they
Um,
do. Maybe you get nuggets or something.
no. Um, Olive Garden, I've always tried different things, but there's one thing that I find that's a consistent when I go. And I mean, now with COVID and everything, they have a very limited menu, but this thing is still on the menu. It's the
Yeah.
5 cheese ziti, and it's
Okay.
so good. You've never had that?
No.
I get the ziti and I get a chicken parm on the side.
Okay.
Man, dude, there's nothing like that. The chicken's nice and crispy. The
Explain what the first thing is.
A
Ziti.
ziti, the four
Yeah.
cheese ziti. So ziti is like a pasta that is just like like a tube. Like think of like
Mhm.
macaroni if it was straight and like
Okay.
bigger. It wasn't
Okay.
like curved. And it has like all like it has 4 cheeses and it has like this like nice marinara. It's not marinara. I don't know what it is, what kind of sauce it is, but it's amazing. I would definitely recommend it. And that made Father's Day pretty great, if you ask me.
I'll pick one up when I get the chance.
You should.
And then that's pretty cool.
Anyway, one topic that we have for today is schooling in the fall.
Yeah.
Now, this is as the fall quickly approaches, because I mean, it's just a few months away before we go back to school in August. Um, there's some, things being said. Maybe we won't go back to school. Maybe we will. The
Yeah.
governor's saying we should, which, oh God, that's so weird that he's saying
Yeah.
that because things have just only gotten so much worse. Especially
Listen,
here in the Rio Grande Valley, we had like 230, 40 cases just yesterday alone.
yeah. Yeah.
And oh man, please, 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 we talked about this last episode. Stay home. If you're going out, please wear a mask.
Please.
I
Yeah.
can't stress that enough. If you guys want life to go back to normal in any way, and if you don't, like just think about the people and like
Who do?
just think about somebody other than yourself if you guys don't, if that makes sense. And like there's so much things we can do to make sure that these things aren't happening. Like I want to go back to school in the fall,
Yeah, me too.
but it's very unlikely seeing as where things are going and how quickly like it's like spiked in cases. And man, I'm just telling you guys, please, please, please stay home if you can. If you're going out, do everything you can, wear a mask. The question I have for you, Jaime, and I
Yeah, go
think we
ahead.
can both answer this is,
Yeah.
do you think schooling up until this point, since spring break and forward, has been online? And online schooling is a interesting experience from in-person schooling and being in a classroom setting and talking to your teachers and going from class to class.
Mhm.
And so, do you think we should stay online? Do you think we should go back to school?
I've actually done research on it for a paper on whether online schooling is more effective than the traditional way of schooling.
Hmm.
And it actually turns out that online schooling uh, allows people to pay more attention and stuff like that. Like you're more likely to learn through online schooling. And
Hmm.
I found that really interesting because my case was to try to say that traditional schooling is way more effective.
Hmm.
And every little thing that I was doing was just kind of, it was like a lie in the essay because every sign points that online schooling is way more effective, and it's crazy,
Right.
man.
Like we have the ability to learn at our own pace with online schooling. We have the ability to like not worry about other students in the classroom and things like that. But I mean, like you said, for your own case, you felt like online schooling wasn't the best for you. And I
Yeah,
strongly feel that way because
yeah, for
I
sure.
feel like if there's one thing about online schooling is like there's no teachers. And I mean, again, this isn't to make me sound like like irresponsible or anything, but like I don't have those teachers that push me in the way that like online schooling just feels like it almost felt like a suggestion.
Yeah,
You know what I
for
mean?
sure.
Like
Yeah.
we extended the spring break and then all of a sudden we were doing this online schooling and it felt like it wasn't taken as seriously as regular schooling and it just didn't feel as serious for me.
Yeah,
And
I 100% agree.
like like I think the only way that this can possibly work realistically is if we're given like a schedule and fault. Like let's say like we did like Zoom classes or Google Classroom with like Google Hangouts and like the teacher would lecture. I think that would be perfect for me as a student because
I agree.
one, I get to rewatch like let's say lectures at my own pace. I get
Hmm.
to like listen to my teacher. I get to ask my teacher questions like right then and there. I don't have to email my teacher and wait an hour or two, a day, a
Yeah,
night. You know what I'm saying? Like I have that experience with my teachers. And there's just an online schooling experience that you don't really experience everything that you could on campus. You won't be able, like us as seniors, we won't be able to like go to our Go Center and have those teachers there to help us to
yeah.
apply for colleges and things like that. And like that's, I mean, it's
It, it
just
it feels like we're on our own in many ways.
yeah,
Like, and
yeah,
here, a thing I don't like about online schooling, and it's just me, or it's not just me, but um, I hate having to turn things in online. I feel way more comfortable turning in face to face and stuff like that.
yeah.
And I
Like turning
know
in like a paper rather than a document, things like that.
I have the worst anxiety when it comes to turning in things through online
Hmm.
schooling, because I just feel like, what if it doesn't send, and then what? And then what are we gonna? I'm gonna
Or like if
say,
my file corrupts and I'm just like done and like
yeah. It's very scary, and you have to put a lot of trust in the internet, and sometimes it's hard because there are situations where you try to turn things in like last minute, and then something doesn't turn in, and then it's our fault. So uh,
yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
and not only that, but when doing traditional school, you miss out on all the electives and stuff, football, everything, like football, theater, band, like all that stuff it's a key part to all of us. Like,
and it's something where you kind of, in order to experience it fully, you have to be there. Like you can't like rehearse a show via
yeah,
um you can't rehearse plays on a Zoom call. You can't all practice your instruments and play together via Zoom call. And I'm not saying like we should go back to school because right now is
yeah,
not
no,
the time to be saying that with everything going on and the
I
cases
agree.
spiking. But my problem is trying to figure out this middle ground. And so like what I think school should look like, and I mean I want you to answer this too with everything going on,
Yeah,
taking everything into consideration. I think what I said before, having like a detailed schedule like we would in normal school, where we wake up at a certain time, we go, we like it would keep me engaged because like I'm never gonna get things done waking up at 11, at 12, at
that's
1.
true.
I'm always gonna. It doesn't feel like I have this like responsibility to enter my classrooms. You know what I mean? But
Exactly.
I know like a lot of people feel like if they had a schedule, they would maintain the schedule and they would, try their best to like really work hard because it feels like there's some kind of motive to continue. Whereas when we first started, it felt like it was literally a suggestion. So like a detailed schedule, like let's say we had a first period, a second period, a third period, like we would normally. And
Yeah,
I think that would really keep the students engaged in learning and wouldn't just make them like rely on their friends for like, I don't know, like, hey, what was it? What did she talk about in this lecture? Or hey, what happened today? I missed it. I was asleep till 3 p.m. You know what I'm saying? And
exactly.
like
Yeah,
it still holds student accountable for like a normal school year, but also it also brings the positive of online learning, which is like being able to go back to lectures, being able to learn at your own pace, not worrying about the other students. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. And it was funny because at the beginning of the year, I was thinking, man, this is gonna be easy. All these classes are gonna there. It's I just have one class, and it's like a 2 hour class, and then I'm done. I just need to do the assignment, and then it's done for the day. But just finding the energy to do the work, and it's the least amount of work I've ever done, and I
Mm-hmm.
still don't want to do it. It just I don't have the mentality of just you got to get up at this time, do work, and I never thought that our like school systems were effective until now. We need a
Right.
time to wake up in the morning because if we won't, then we'll just wake up at whatever time and we
we
don't have a
won't we won't
routine.
realize the responsibilities that we have. And I mean, that's one thing that, I mean, what you just said is we didn't realize like the effective like use of our schooling system. And I mean, that's one thing that I always told myself, like why do I have to wake up this early, and why do we have to, be at school for this long, and why do we have to like have these certain classes, or why do we, you know what I'm saying? And I
Exactly.
mean, being away from everything and realizing like all like how effective it truly is like crazy to me.
Yeah.
And I mean, I completely agree with you when you say like we need these things. We need a schedule. We need to wake up earlier. And granted,
Yeah.
it's something we can do on our own, but it feels like it just felt like a suggestion.
Yeah.
And man, like I just don't want it to be that. I don't want my brain to tell me like, oh, it's a lecture that you can listen to at any point in the day. You won't have to sit in a classroom and listen to it for an hour and a half. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, whereas in those hour and a half, I can ask questions to my teacher as she's, so that way I can make sure I'm understanding and retaining the information. You can't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
While the
Like
teacher is like lecturing, she can't show you, she can't further understand your questions and elaborate on the answers and things I just, that's my thing, is I really hope we have like Google Hangouts, Zoom, where we can talk to our teachers
yeah.
and they can lecture as they would normally, and we can go ahead and like ask questions and stuff and be able to have that feedback right then and there. So yeah.
Yeah, because on Blackboard you have the option to raise your hand and you have the option to type or whatever. And you can't really speak because that's just not how it's been working. And sometimes the teacher will ask a question and nobody replies because it's awkward. The feeling
Mm-hmm.
of just everything being virtual and nobody's gonna want to raise their hand virtually. And it's weird because every kid is feeling this. Like this is
Mm-hmm.
something that that if there's no way there's no way somebody understands every single thing that's being said.
Right.
And I haven't been understanding everything. And so sometimes I want to ask a question, I'll be typing, and then the teacher will just move on. And I'm like, man, I didn't
Yeah,
even
see,
get
that's the
my.
thing. You can't, you like, there's this latency when it comes to like typing and asking questions that way. And then there's a latency in responding to that. And it doesn't feel like I would learn as much as I would in the classroom setting, but it makes it
Exactly.
so easy for us to have this kind of faux classroom setting,
Hmm.
this like stand-in classroom setting for now, and
Hmm.
having those options, having like a live lecture available, I think is what the students probably would prefer than like a recorded lecture that goes on, and like we're supposed to understand everything, anything and everything a teacher says just in that lecture, and not expect like questions or something. Like it
Yeah.
just didn't make sense for me as a student who's all about learning and all about retaining information and all about getting like the best grades I can. And so it felt like, I don't know, it felt like I was being cheated out of my education in a sense.
A little bit. Yeah. I get that. And yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm 100% thankful for this Blackboard experience because a different experience, and it's
Right.
opened my eyes back to the traditional way of schooling.
Hmm.
But yeah, I just think Zooms would probably be a little bit more effective because teachers have their eye on you still, and it just prevents us from letting us do whatever we want because
And it prevents us from like being lazy or feeling like it's an option. When I
yes,
mean, our education shouldn't feel like an option. It should never feel that way.
it should
And the
feel like we need
way
to do something now.
yeah, and the way it was just like introduced and brought up felt so like, oh yeah, we're doing online learning now, and you can sign in a Google Classroom, and then you have to put in a code, and then you it it didn't make it easy on students to start learning. And I feel like now that we know the system, now that we know how to use Google Classroom, now that we know how to use like students who are just learning Blackboard and stuff, like it was difficult, and it's going to continue to be difficult for like students who are just coming in, students, what I'm saying. And
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
there's I just strongly feel like a live lecture should be available for every class, and just not even just a lecture, like we should have classes still,
Yeah, yeah, I
like
know.
just we should have classes. And
I just miss school. I'm not gonna
yeah,
sugarcoat it at all. And it's funny because I got my mom went to my neighbor's house the other day, and they had school foods because a lot of students aren't going to school anymore, but they're still selling this. They're still giving away the school foods,
you're right,
and
because
they
I
have
mean
way.
some people rely on the free school food and lunches and breakfast and things like that. And I mean,
Yeah,
like, that's another thing. And like students not being able to use the certain technology that is required for these classes. And then the school system just fails them. And it's like
it's
it
almost
doesn't
over.
feel like perfect for everyone.
Mhm.
And it definitely feels a little unfair for those kinds of students, who aren't as fortunate enough to like be able to have access to internet 24/7,
True. Yeah.
have access to a computer 24/7, to a telephone. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Exactly. Yeah. I'm lucky enough that the school actually gave me a computer because for a little bit because I have computers at my house, but my stepsisters were using them, and it felt unfair for me because they're hogging up the computers all day and I can't use anything. So I got my computer, but it would keep turning off and stuff like that. It was, but I'm still thankful for that. But
Mhm.
the computer was a little bit of an issue at some points, and I could understand how it could be
And
for
so
students.
so then that translates to like, well, how can we hold these students accountable for these kinds of things, like errors and bugs which come with online,
Yeah.
anything on the internet? These things are gonna happen. And I don't know. I said my wishes for the next school year, and I hope someone out there listens, and I hope someone's watching this that can make someone listen. But I think a proper schedule that keeps student engaged and makes
Mhm.
it not feel like an option, taking attendance, things
Yeah.
like that. Like little things like that keep students wanting, and keep students, what's the word? Um, I'm trying to
Like
think of this word.
further themselves or something like.
Yeah, it makes students reliable for their education. It doesn't make it so that way it's strictly, oh, here's a lecture, watch this and take a quiz.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Things need to be mandatory in order for things to get done. That's what it is.
Yes, absolutely. And I know things were mandatory, but
Yeah.
like how, I mean, a lot of teachers I know were just like putting something up and being like, okay, here you go, and here's a quiz.
Exactly. That's my classes right now.
and
Oh,
it's not right. It's not how we should allow schooling and teaching to happen.
yeah,
And I don't know, especially not in these early years where we're basically in our infancy of education. We have,
yeah,
you know 4 years of college if you're going to college, 8 years of college if you're going for doctorates and stuff. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah.
so there's so many more things that we're just beginning our education, and to be like left on our own does not feel like a good thing for me as a student, for
Yeah,
our whole school, for our district, for our community.
and it's not only for us, like it's not only for our grade level, like everybody is going through
Hmm.
this. Like freshmen's going into high school, now they have to deal with college classes that are all of a sudden going to be virtual and stuff.
Hmm.
Um, what else? What else? Like little kids now they have to go to class virtually, and my niece, she cries when the classes were virtual, and she had my my brother was having a hard time like trying to get her to learn because it was virtual and they just weren't getting the same thing. Like they weren't getting the same thing that they would get out
The
of
same kind of education, the same kind of, like work into individual students. You can't do that online. You just can't.
yeah.
You can't
It's
focus on, an individual asking a question, and maybe people are scared to ask questions, and that's one thing that online makes it so scary. Like, I don't want to go out of my way to reach my teacher when, maybe she's like busy or he's busy, and then I just feel like a burden, whereas in a place where we're in an educational setting, such as like the online learning and like live lectures and things like that, it feels okay. And when I ask a question, maybe I'm asking a question that someone else is wondering, and they're just scared to ask themselves. And then that opportunity gets taken from them because they're never going to be able to use their voice. And it's just, man, I
we're
miss
just
school.
lacking the human part of it. Like
Yeah. What this next segment brings a very heartbreaking story of two students who attended PSJ Southwest who tragically lost their lives. Their names are Fabian, Alaniz, and Miguel Perez, seniors who were about to graduate with a whole life in front of them. And today we have a friend, Tomas Davila, a friend of both of these students, who is really close to Miguel Perez. And I'm going to go ahead and ask him some questions based on, just some things maybe he'd like to say and share about these two students. And so, Tomas, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hello, Tomas. So, I'm gonna ask you, how did you come to know these people? When did you guys meet, and how did you guys meet, and how did you guys get along, and things like that?
Mm, okay, so the first time I met Miguel was in eighth grade. Well,
Hmm.
I didn't know him, like I didn't talk to him or anything like that, but um, we were playing a basketball game,
Hmm.
Kennedy versus Escalante, and I
Hmm.
remember him. I remember he was there, and that was the first time I saw him, right? But when I started to know him was like in more more like in freshman year.
Hmm.
I was playing with a team outside of school, right? And he started going to the games and playing with me, right? And then
Hmm.
we started going out and playing around, and then we just got closer and closer and closer until we go out to parties and all that, right? And I
Hmm.
was going to his house and everything like that. Like we got so close. And with Fabian, pues I met Miguel, right? And he was his friend. And then we just went out us like in a group, right? And we used to play some games like poker and that. So
Hmm.
we
Hmm.
were just going around. Anything. Fabian also played soccer with me in Plaza. We were just playing friendly games, and we played like like for fun. We're just having fun, right? That's
Hmm.
how we I met them.
That's cool.
I mean, I didn't know them personally, so I don't have any stories about them, but I know that they were people who only brought positivity. Like they
Yeah,
never caused any trouble, and they loved to have fun. And
yeah,
I mean, at our school pep rallies, they were almost like, I guess we could say, the life
yeah,
of of like our student body. Like they would go out there and just want to have fun. And I think that's something that's really important, and something that I know that a lot of students can look back on and reflect on and notice as like a huge loss to us. And
yeah.
so, any like fun stories, any heartwarming
I think
stories,
that
anything you
like
think that you want to share?
in the pep rally, it was more like for Miguel, right? For Miguel
Hmm.
was more like that because
Hmm.
Fabian was a little bit more serious and he
Hmm.
was like less like he won't do that, right? But
Right.
Miguel was very happy and he always do that, right? He was
Hmm.
singing with me at a pep rally
Hmm.
and all that. But any fun stories I could say, right? So me and Miguel like it to freestyle, right? Freestyle,
Hmm. Hmm.
and but he was in Spanish. We
Right.
used to freestyle in Spanish, and
Hmm.
I don't know. I think that was in that phase of freestylers, we
Hmm.
always were enemies, right? We will
Mm-hmm.
always be enemies in that aspect. But in real life, no, right? We were just friends. But I think he was my best enemy, like my
Your competition.
yeah, my best competition. He like no one would do it like him, like with me.
Hmm.
Maybe
Hmm.
he was not. I think I was a little bit more like I could say like I was better than him. But
Hmm.
when he came to me, he would match me, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
He was
Yeah.
very aggressive in that aspect. Like I don't know, I was his nemesis. He
Yeah,
was
you
my
guys knew how to
nemesis.
keep up with each other, and you guys kept pushing each other to be better at that art.
Yeah,
And
that was and
I went ahead and heard your song, and
mhm,
I mean, oh man, that was amazing. By the way, I just thought you should know.
thanks. I remember one time that Fabian texted me randomly,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, "What?" And he sent me a screenshot, and he told me, "Look what I'm listening to. Look what I'm listening to." It was one of my songs, like one of new songs that I just made, and I was like happy because he was being listening to
He was
the that
supporting
song.
you, and he was, yeah,
Yeah,
That's really
that's
cool.
really
like
important. That's, I
I
mean,
like that kind of support. Like out of nowhere, he texted me and he told me he was listening to my song, and I was like, all right, I see Fabian. And also, Fabian always wanted to make a song with me. He would always told me, "Let's make a song," and I always tell him, "Okay, so let's start. You write the song, and then I will write it too, right?" But he never did it,
mhm.
so we never got to make it.
And that's one thing that I mean, I think that it's a good thing that you ended up making a song in remembrance of
Hmm.
both of them, because it kind of feels like they were a part of that. And
Yeah.
um, Tomas, I'm gonna ask you something, and I mean, this is a pretty loaded question, so I don't expect you to, fully give me a fully realized answer, because I wouldn't know how to answer this. But
Hmm.
I'm gonna go ahead and ask you, how do you feel that Miguel and Fabian like should be remembered by our student body, by our faculty, by our district, and by our community?
Well, mm, for the school community, I don't know. I just think like leave something for them in school. For example,
Mm-hmm.
like uh, one thing that I was talking with my friends. she was telling me that they were gonna do a garden for them. So I was like, okay, that's cool, right, for them
Mhm.
to be remembered in
Mhm.
school. And but like the garden and their names and a picture of them in the
Mhm.
garden, right? I think
Mhm.
that would be very great for the school community.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah, I
sure.
agree.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just so unfortunate because it was right before they were going to graduate and get onto a new chapter in their lives, and they were working.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah,
Well,
nobody.
if you for the graduation, right? I have this story. So when when they were telling if you already graduated, right? So I called Miguel and tell him, hey, let's go to pick up the things. And he
mhm,
told me, nah, I don't know if I'm graduating. Me dijo, y yo le dije, yeah, they're gonna tell you there, y no sé qué. Y pues ya me dijo, recógeme. Y yo le dije, yeah, I'm going for you. Y luego, then we went to school and there was Fabian with Humberto waiting in line too because they needed to do some credits. And then I went to pick up my things with Miguel, and they they make Miguel to go back because he wasn't ready. And
mhm,
then I go again to the line, and Fabian was there, and Fabian told me, take me to pick up my things because I'm ready. And this Humberto wasn't ready, right? And
Mhm.
then I went with Fabian to pick up his things, and then yeah, we went back, and then Miguel stayed there to finish his grades, and then he got it.
mhm,
But that's one thing I will remember because I was with them that day, right? That they will know if they were graduating. And
mhm,
yeah, I was like, what? I was with them together that day,
Yeah,
mhm,
before. Yeah.
us three together that day. Like I not ultimately, me, Miguel, and Fabian were not like going out and that, and I was like that day we got together and in a party also in the weekend and the party we were together.
mhm.
But that's something like I will always remember of them.
Yeah, man.
Thank,
I don't know them also personally, but they sound like amazing people, and
mhm.
Yeah,
I would really
they were.
love. I would really have loved to get to know them and stuff. Like, it's very unfortunate what happened.
And I didn't actually say this to Mas, but like I'm sorry that had to see two of your friends
Yeah,
pass and
that
just not have them. And I want to just like tell you like like my condolences are with you and with their family and with their friends and everyone else who feels like you know like there is some sort of burden kind of over them. And for those of you guys who don't know, Southwest has like a crisis hotline in a sense. We have
hmm
the a Google Classroom where you can reach out to like certain people and you can talk about how you guys are dealing with
yeah,
quarantine, especially because we've been like so cooped up and things like that. So it helps if you just want to express yourself and stuff.
yeah. I
So
know. I got many people to talk with about this, and I know people that is with me in this. So
mhm,
I think that's not a problem. But
mhm,
Yeah,
I know if I talk to some teachers, they will respond because they're amazing teachers.
mhm.
yeah. You just have to be close with him too.
Thank you, Tomas. I appreciate you. Um, I hope you have a great rest of your summer. I hope you go on to as you go on to the next chapter of your life, you persevere through anything and everything. God bless you. And yes, thank you.
Well, Miguel was really funny. He was a really funny person, and you would never see him sad. Even though he had like a little bit of problems, like he would never show them, and like that's what I liked about him. Like he never showed like what was really going on. Like he would show other people like, oh, like I'm fine, like let's party and this and that. But like he would tell me like, oh, like it's cause this and that. But like to other people, like he wouldn't like show it. He would be like everyone always says him like, oh, happy Miguel, like he doesn't have problems. Like all he does is like make people laugh and like be with people and making them like be happy. And that's what I really liked about him. Like he really never showed like his emotions and everything. Like he would always be happy and like he would always be like, you know what, like there's no point of being like sad. Like let's like talk about like life and like let's be happy and this and that. That's what I really liked about him. And about Fabian, like he was the same. Like he was always like playing around and like making jokes, and like we would always be laughing at each other, like telling each other stuff. And like that's what I really liked about both of them. Like they were always happy, like they were never sad. I remember we were in class. I had them both for 7th and 8th. We had math together, and I remember we were taking a test, but we didn't like study for anything. Like we would always skip that class, like always, because it was like a hard class. Like we didn't like being there. And I remember like we got there and the teacher was like, "Oh, I'm gonna separate you guys because you guys can be together," and I don't know what else. So he separated us, and well, no one knew the answers or anything. Like so we were like, "Well, we're gonna fail." So I remember Miguel was like, "Oh, look, I'm gonna distract him and like you guys like switch and like get the answers." And then we were like, "Okay." So Miguel got up and he was like, "Oh, sir, can I talk to you?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, what happened, Miguel?" And when Miguel was distracting him there, and like me and Fabian and some other friends, like we started getting like the answers from other people. But then like the teacher was like, "Oh, I'm not dumb. I know what you guys are doing." And I guess like he caught us and he like kicked us out of the class. I would like for it to be remembered like by them like being happy that they left, leaving a mark on everyone. Like everyone really felt their like death and everything. Like everyone like got more close together. Like our friends got really close. Like we're all like really close right now. And like I would really like people to remember him like that he was like a good person. Like both of them were really good persons. Like they weren't bad. Like they never did anything bad. Like they were really good people, and like they were like literally the best. Like they would always put a smile on everyone.
And that wraps up the second episode of the Jays Up podcast. Thank you from me. Thank you from Jaime. Remember to stay safe, stay aware, and continue to watch the Jays Up podcast. And we'll see you later.